What's going on, everybody? We have another special episode with badass Mr. Mike Pung, inventor of the Gold Cube, with my co-host James Dale, and then myself, Jaron Colnane. So it's good to have everybody on the broadcast this evening. Mike, how are you doing this evening, brother man?
Pretty good. Almost had a little bit of a panic moment. I accidentally touched something with my fat fingers, and I lost my to go find myself again.
It happens. Been there, done that. Yeah, been there, done that. I noticed you popped up at the bottom there, and I'm like, woohoo! All right, we're rocking and rolling here. So we're good to go. The one thing I did forget to do is have some kind of lighting in here for myself so I don't look so ugly and bewildered, but that's okay. We can make this work. All right.
There you go.
There you go. That's right. So, Mike, as we always start off our podcast, we like to get in depth with the origins and the start with yourself and how you got into prospecting and what made you get to the point where you're at nowadays.
Well, my very first pound of gold was up in Chicken, Alaska with my mom.
Wow.
And I was helping mom and her new husband through Alaska. And she said, when we get the chicken, we're going to pan for gold. And I says, whatever. It's just, whatever makes you happy, Ma. And we got the chicken. She taught me how to pan. So I guess I started panning like a girl. Which means it's pretty good, right? But got that first flash in the pan, and it's all been uphill, downhill, down the stream,
left,
whatever
right,
since
up,
then.
Down, right.
So that's right. It depends on what vein we're chasing. But so I started making my batch of concentrates immediately on that pile of gold at the campsite, and that pile of dirt there, and brought them home on airplane. And have you ever experienced TSA with a peanut jar full of this black powdery stuff?
Probably not good.
It ended up being just fine. I mean, they got warm hands and everything, so it was cool.
Oh, geez. For your first time too. I mean, how do you explain something like that? You know, it's just one of those things.
Yeah. Well,
That's
I picked up at the bottom of the container and said, "Hey, take a look at it," and you can see like a little piece of gold there, a little piece of gold there. And they go, "Oh, wow, that is gold." And I said, "Yeah, and if you want me to eat some of that dirt, I'll prove it's not dynamite."
Sorry, guys.
Oh, so, that's awesome.
That's awesome. So I took it home and I started getting on eBay and I started looking at all the types of gold prospecting equipment out there. I started buying a bunch of secondhand stuff, when people are cleaning out their shed or whatever. And I realized going through that one little peanut jar of concentrates that I would constantly lose certain pieces of gold, and I'd constantly keep other certain pieces of gold. I mean, I didn't have a whole lot, so whatever I had, I could recognize fairly quickly. So that's kind of like my very first lesson about mining and about equipment is basically you have to answer two questions. Like, how did I keep the gold that I kept, and
Right.
how did I lose the gold that I lost? So, and that's basically where it all started. I mean, I just started going from a piece of equipment to piece of equipment, analyzing everything, and by my about a year and a half into it, I already had over 70 inventions that I'd come up with. Of course, half of those, when you start going back into some of the old patents and stuff, they'd already been thought about. So I just say there's an old miner there's an old miner in my shorts or something that I rely on.
Someone sitting on your shoulder, talking to you in your ear
Yeah.
there.
It's like, no, you old sourdough, that's not the way you do it. Shake it the other way.
I haven't heard sourdough in a while. Thank you very much.
I love
it. Hey, I actually had sourdough toast for breakfast this morning.
Oh, that's awesome. I love sourdough.
Yeah.
Sourdough is good. A little bit of butter, and that's all you need.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So it's it all started from there. Just a trip to Alaska, and fell in love with the place. I fell in love with gold, or got infected by gold, whatever you want to call it. And,
a little bit of both.
It's just
a little bit of both, Mike.
Yeah, no kidding. yeah. So then, shortly after that, I met a guy named Steve Wilcox. He goes by Red. He had the Golden Sand hand pump, and we nicknamed it the Suck It and Bucket. So, so we met, and we started exchanging ideas back and forth, and I'd tell him what I thought would work, and he'd tell me, don't believe everything I think. So he would try to prove me wrong.
That's your best critic. That's your best critic, though.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. So yeah, he tried to prove me wrong, and we got to a point where we no longer could prove that something didn't work, and we had to actually admit that it did work. And I can remember the day that the Gold Cube prototype actually worked, and I was like, all right, it worked. It's like, oh crap, it worked.
Yep.
Now I've got to come up with some money.
So to take us back here, so originally when you took that trip to Chicken, Alaska, was that a trip you were planning on going out to try to get gold, or was that a trip to go and visit family, relatives, maybe? What kind of trip was that to get you out there?
Well, before my dad passed, Mom and Dad had gone to Alaska and saw a bunch of really cool stuff. And then my mom got remarried, and she wanted to show all this cool stuff that she had seen with Dad. And since they were getting on their age, she asked if my wife and I would go along to help out. So it was just a vacation. I mean, the fact that I was going to pan for golden chicken was just another check mark. It didn't really mean anything at the moment. But I was like, hey, whatever you want to do, Mom, that's fine with me. I'm here to help, So, and then she ended up getting me the fever and starting the whole thing. So it's
you could blame it on your mom now, can't you?
yeah, I do. Blame, credit, whatever.
Yeah, one of the two, right?
It depends on the moment, yeah. I imagine.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So you went over there for just a full-on vacation and didn't expect nothing out of it. And your mom taught you how to pan, and you got excited for it and whatnot. You came back to the lower 48, and where was your mind at in that point in time when you came back? Were you ready to get back out there, or did it take a few years to get back out there?
Well, I remember my first flash in the pan up there at Chicken. I saw a little piece of gold. I asked Mom, is that really gold? And she said yes. And I said, how much is it worth? She goes, less than a penny, boy. Get back to work, So, but I knew right then. See, I've always been a dirt fisherman, I guess you're going to call it. I mean, I metal detect, I rock hunt. I'm all about outdoors and finding stuff. Yeah. And so this fell right into my nature anyway. So it was just something that once I got home, and I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to leave Alaska at all. It was just an amazing place.
Such
And
an amazing, beautiful place. Yes, indeed.
yes, so I go back every year. So
That's awesome. It's got you
yeah,
hooked there.
what's now here's something that was kind of neat. On May the 20th, 2007, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I found my first piece of gold. Okay? At May the 20th, 2017, 10 years later, at 1:05, 5 minutes later, I found my very first nugget. It took me 10 years to find my first nugget. And it was only 100 feet and 100 feet and 5 minutes away.
Oh, wow.
10 years.
And in a decade. I can't forget that decade.
Something like that you just don't forget. You know, when you find your first nugget, it's just that feeling is inexplainable. You know, you really can't explain it unless you're there and you're actually going through that freaking moment, man. I tell you what, it's an amazing
For
feeling.
sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm still working on finding one that's over an ounce. I haven't found one over an ounce yet.
Count me into that category, Mike.
Yeah. 0.7.
Yeah. I've gotten half ounce, but I haven't got a full ounce yet. So,
well, count
but
me
I do
out
a lot
of count me out of the half ounce category too, because I haven't found that either.
All right, so I already saw the question. How big was the first nugget that you found?
Yeah, the very first nugget was 2.2
Wow.
grams.
2.2 grams.
No, that's still a phenomenal find. Wow. 2 grammer.
Yeah. That's a good little nugget. There's nothing wrong with 2.2.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and it was 3-dimensional. It was like a little football, you know. It was just 3-dimensional and
Wow.
had so much character to it. I mean, it wasn't like a big old flat thing. It was it had some beef to it. Hadn't traveled very far.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I still got it. You know, I'm not ever get rid of it. I've never sold any gold. So I'm saving for retirement.
Well, that's the thing, especially with the prices nowadays. You know, I mean, gold's just going up and up and up. And I mean, with technology and all the things going on right now, gold is at its all-time high. You know, I mean, it's spiked here and there, but for its consistency, it's been absolutely phenomenal. You know, and even then, the funny thing is, like you just said, Mike, is, you know, 98.8% of us ain't even ever going to sell our gold, you know, until our damn deathbed. You know what I mean? So we have this thought in our mind like we're going to sell it at some point in time, but in all actuality, we probably will go to the damn grave with it. You know, it's just the way it works. You know.
Yeah, someday, kids, this will all be yours.
While you're looking back, kids. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So So you know, you went back. You know, you've gotten that feeling of going back every single year. Once you realized that you needed a better gold recovery system, you know, what were your thoughts behind and beforehand of the Gold Cube? Like what got you into the point of, okay, I need to design something that has multi-directional angles to allow me to be able to collect as much gold as I can? What kind of thought process were you going through once you got to that point to be able to get the fine gold recovery?
Well, just like I was talking about, you need to understand how you kept the gold and understand how you lose the gold you lost. And I realized at that point, well, actually, I had found some gold up on Lake Superior, Michigan. And so when I found that gold up there, it was extremely flat. It was the same size as the the magnetite that was in there, and the magnetite was rolled round, very aerodynamic, and the gold was extremely flat. The biggest piece was like 50 mesh, and everything else was smaller than that. But 30 or 40 pieces of gold in one pan. It's not even a cleanup; it's just the pan.
Just the pan.
And
Wow.
so I had to come up with a way to, yeah, had to accurately capture that gold. And one of the things that I realized is gold, as easy as it is to, I call it, it don't float. It actually boats. Okay, so like a boat displaces water and stays on top no matter how heavy
Yep.
it is.
Yep.
Okay, so I call it boating. And if you can get a boat to not displace any water anymore, it acts like an anchor. So if you look at the gold on top, it's too heavy to be on top, but it's the surface tension aura around it that creates enough displacement in order for it to stay on top. So the heavier the gold is, the easier it is to bust that bubble, or the thinner the material is that the surface tension is made out of, the easier it is for smaller pieces to break through. And that's why we add a surfactant, soap and stuff like that. But being ecologically conscious about, okay, I don't like bubble baths. Okay, I'll just admit it.
I don't think any of us do anymore. I mean,
yeah. So I didn't want to use a bunch of soap or anything in the system, especially if you're in the river and you got a system that works great with soap, and you're in the river and you can't use soap anymore, it's not going to work anymore. So I said, well, there's got to be a better way to get everything underwater. So I looked at like dredges. They've got that mud flap on there, and it helps smooth off the surface of the water, and it knocks the gold on the head and gets it to fall underwater. So it acts like an anchor, like it's supposed to. It happens. It works fairly well for most of it, but some of it gets away, trapped in the inside of a bubble. I've seen that happen, where the surface tension's on the inside of a bubble, and the bubble goes, and so does the gold.
Yeah.
So I had to come up with a different way of doing it, and I looked at a P-trap underneath the sink. Actually, the idea hit me in the back of the head one time. So that was kind of the idea behind the G-force separator. It's that J-trap design spread out the entire length of the mat, and so it forces all the gold to have to go underwater. It just doesn't have any other choice. Right. So therefore, that took care of one of the problems of how did I lose the gold? Well, it floated away. So since that was the issue with it floating away, getting it underwater, no more boating, So that took care of that. And then the next thing was not only the boating issue. The other thing was the fact that an eddy caused on the backside of a riffle is designed to create a low pressure zone, but if a rock gets a little bit too close to it, it can make a swirl that could dig out some of that smaller, flatter gold. Right. So, and then like if you can control your sluice box like in a recirculating system, you can pretty much mitigate most of that. But in a higher volume situation, like in a dredge or something like that, it's difficult to control that situation. So the worst oxymoron on earth is acceptable loss, and you expect to lose some of your finer gold just to get through the volume. But in a closed system, I wanted to change the rules in a way that got rid of eddies. And when I was shaking my pan one time, and I was like, if I could get everything to fall through the material without having to pump up a fluid bed. If you've got a fluid bed, you've got a flow of water that's constantly rising, and the gold has to overcome that flow and drop to the bottom. But if I could stir it like I'm shaking my pan without any flow, then then it'll sink. So I said, well, we need some kind of quicksand, and a vortex created a quicksand. So I was looking and
Right.
looking and looking and looking. I just couldn't find a vortex. I designed a bunch of matted surfaces. I actually milled them out of Corian countertop. So
Oh
they weren't
wow.
rubber. They're pretty solid.
Durable. Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah, I bet.
durable, to say the
Wow.
least. Durable.
Yeah. Yeah, they were mats. They were plates.
Yeah, they were plates. They weren't
But,
going nowhere.
Let's pull out the plates.
Right.
Throw out the plates,
Yeah.
Mike.
Yeah, stack them. So we had a lot of different kinds of things that we're trying to try. Well, one thing happened by accident, and it was kind of funny. I was at our local lumber yard called Lumber 2, and they're kind of a Lumber 2, is secondhand lumber, but it's a lot cheaper if you got a project that nobody's going to see what's behind the walls. They work great.
Yeah.
So I was out there, and they're also a horse tack and feed, and this guy had this horse trailer out there, and in the horse trailer he had dropped the gate down. And on the gate itself, there's this matting on the back gate. So I'm down there picking at this matting. Okay, mind you, we're in Oklahoma, and the guy says he comes around and he goes, "I'm getting ready to leave. Can I help you with something?" And
He's like, "What the hell are you doing?"
I said, "I'm a miner," and he goes, "So." So I told him, well, it's like all the miners that are out there, they're always looking at different ways of using different things. Okay, like a spaghetti strainer. It's a 16 mesh classifier. So there's all these things that we
got. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. I got a hubcap. No, it's a gold pan. So we do what we got to do.
Yeah.
And I saw this mat, and I asked him where he got it, and he says, "Well, I got it right inside there." So I went in and bought some, and I sent some to my friend Red. And so we're just going to make a little cleanup sluices out of this stuff just to see how it works. And when we got to using it, Red said, "Well, it works good for about the first 5 minutes, and then it clogs up." I said, "Yeah, I'm kind of having that same issue too, because we're doing like 1 foot drop for every, or 1 inch drop for every foot." And so I was really high tech at that time. I had a wooden ladder that I propped up the little sluice box I made out of wood, and then I had it resting on a brick that was sitting on the edge of a mortar tub. So
Oh wow.
so that's how I got my level,
Right.
Well, I turned around, I bumped the brick, it fell off into the water, and as I was leaning down to pick the brick back up, I noticed that each of those little pockets in there were swirling. They were making little vortex.
Wow.
I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" So I measured it, and it was like 3 inches to every foot drop. So that's like 15 degrees.
Wow.
And so I called Red. I said, "Drop that thing down to 15 degrees, 3 inches per foot." He says, "We'll dump everything out." And I says, "No, we won't."
Wow.
So he did it, and he goes, "Wow, it makes these little vortexes in there." So we started calling this rough top incline conveyor belt that they use on the, for a horse trailer, just grip for the horses. Instead of calling it all that, like horse trailer mat or rough top incline conveyor belt, we just started calling it vortex mat because that's what it did.
Wow.
So that's where the name came from. It was way before the Gold Cube. So when we were designing the Gold Cube, we had our vortex. We had the way to get underwater. There was a thesis in New Zealand called the New Zealand boil box. And it was a boil box because it had square bottoms. Okay, but it had a gate in there that forced everything underwater. I talked to Travis from New Zealand who wrote the thesis, and I said, "This is what I'm planning on doing." And he says, "Well, I got no claim to what you're doing." He says, "If you're taking away the boil, it's not mine." So I was like, "Cool." So now we have Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
And once we had the gold cube put together, I actually sent him a gold cube for free for being such a cool guy.
Right on.
That's awesome.
And it cost more money to ship it than the cost of the cube.
then what? Yep.
Oh yeah.
Learned my lessons on that. Yep.
Yes, indeed.
Oh yeah. But so anyway, the in our patent, the G-force separator is called a gated axial trough. So that's the official
trough,
thing
huh?
for it. Yeah, so it's got the gate in the middle, and it's exactly the same size all the way through the entire run. So its design is to create a flow that actually separates the material and lines it up by specific gravity. So as it drops down into the G-force separator, the heavies hit the bottom, and then they just slide up the edge, and everything else stays mixed in the turbidity of the water.
Wow.
So then once it comes out of the G-force separator, we'll call it a column, and right at where the mat starts, the column starts to collapse, and where the column collapses, your heavies are at the bottom, and it goes lighter. So the lightest stuff collapses the farthest down the mat. So yeah, exactly. And that happens continuously, and as it continuously happens, it keeps the gold. You know, one of the coolest parts about this, and anybody that's used the gold cube will see that there's this about a half-inch black space before the mat starts, and everybody always finds gold on that space. That is the only low-pressure zone eddy in the entire system, and it is such a unique and effective low-pressure zone that even the smallest of gold will actually sit there. And now, instead of having to try to find its way through the water, it just gets an opportunity to slide into the mat and get caught. So when you've got 400 mesh gold, it takes 1 second to go down 1 inch of water. So the gold may not even find the mat before it gets to the end. So you lose that gold. So the fact that we aligned it by specific gravity, we made it heavier in the G-force separator, we aligned it up against the edge, and then slid it up into that low pressure zone and right into the mat, we get to keep finer and finer gold. So those are things we learned as we were designing it. Some of our designs were happy accidents. Some of them were actually on purpose. But the gold cube, the angle of the gold cube, and the design of the gold cube all happened because of the mat. Okay, so we didn't make the cube and wonder what mat we're going to put it in. We knew that the gold cube's mat, that the vortex mat, works best at 15 degrees, anywhere from 12 to 18 degrees. So we just put it in the middle at 15. So if you're not straight up and down, it doesn't matter. So the 15 degrees was on purpose because of the mat, and it kind of makes it a little more difficult for other people to get other mats into the gold cube because it's too steep. And there's a lot of mats out there that really work good until you stop feeding it,
right?
Because then they start scrubbing out. And there's like on the like Cape D, Washington Beach Miners got a mat out there called the Sawtooth. That works great as long as you don't interfere with the flow of water, because as soon as you do that, it's so steep, behind each of the riffles, it'll just start to glug out and go to the next one.
Yeah, you're washing out. Yeah.
So it doesn't wash very far, but you do that too many times, you run out of mat and you start losing your gold.
Yeah.
So it's not very friendly with interruption. Now the cool part about the vortex mat though is, since it's acting like little spiral of vortexes, little quicksand pockets, gold goes to the bottom. Okay, when gold goes to the bottom, if there's something in there that's too light, it's going to kick it out. Okay, so it's replace. So gold goes to the bottom, kicks out whatever's lighter. Could be blonde sand, could be black sand, could be anything that's lighter than gold. All right, so now we get a water interference. As soon as we get a water interference, like somebody put too big of a blob of dirt or something on there and shut the water off because now it's a dam. If that happens on the vortex mat, the pockets just stop, and as soon as the water goes back on it again, it starts spinning again.
Yep.
So yeah, and meanwhile, all the gold is down low. So if the gold is down low, it's not at risk of being blown out. Okay, now nothing's perfect. Nothing's going to get 100%. You're always going to have losses. If any machine, whether it's a gold cube, a dredge, a high banker, a dry washer, you have to understand what it's doing and why it's doing it and when you are going to reach a vulnerable point. So there's ways to mitigate vulnerability. Like on a gold cube, if let's say you're going to be out there for 10 hours and you've got a battery that's only going to last you 5. So every once, you run a bunch of stuff and then you shut it off. And then you go get some more dirt, and then you run a bunch of stuff and you shut it off. In a regular high banker or sluice box or whatever, if you do that, you're going to be dumping gold. That initial gush of water is going to start running stuff out.
Yeah.
Well, we're probably pretty darn accurate at keeping all of our material until you get like 4 or 5 startups. Then you could have a problem. So, understanding that you could be running into a problem, you put a pan underneath the gold cube when you start it up. You give it about a 10 count, and whatever busts loose, you dump it back in the top. And then anything that busted loose is back in the top, and anything that didn't bust loose is protected again by the vortex pockets. So understanding your equipment will make it to where you can get more and more gold cut to come home with.
More of a better efficiency.
Yeah. And I don't remember what the question was, so I don't know if I've answered it.
You've answered it and then some, Mike.
And then some, yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, we've, it's funny because we've interviewed a lot of phenomenal people, including yourself, and like I was saying before the podcast, it's an absolute honor to have you on here, Mike. I mean,
thank you.
I can't count on my hands and toes how many folks said, get Mike on the podcast. And, it was only a matter of time before I was privileged enough to be able to get you on the podcast. But aside from that, the gold cube has been seen time and time again by, everybody from the most established miners all the way down to the greenhorn. And, the invention that you have and that you have allowed so many people to use is just an absolutely phenomenal product. So, my hat is beyond off to you. I mean, it's insanely crazy to see how many people across the world use the gold cube, and the craziest thing for me is the fact that it went from a vacation to Chicken, Alaska to something that has helped the community in such ways that, we can never honestly repay the favor for what you've done for the community, man. So, I mean, with that being said, I mean, I know time and time again, people probably say, pat yourself on the back, but I mean, holy moly, man, you worked wonders for the community. So I can only thank you as much as I can here.
Well, I appreciate that, but I don't pat myself on the back. I pat myself on the head and rub my belly. You saw the panning technique. Rub your belly, pat your head.
I wasn't sure if I wanted to bring that up or not.
Yeah. So now one of the things that makes me the happiest in the mining community is I was in the Air Force. I retired out of the Air Force in 1995, and my last 8 years in the Air Force, I was an instructor. I love teaching people. I love sharing what I know. I love learning from them, even though they're the student. Like when I was teaching in the Air Force, I told all of my students exactly what it is the Air Force expects them to do. But I said, there's one more thing that you've got to do. You have to teach me something or you don't get your diploma. So you have to be willing to learn, and you have to be willing to share. Now, one of the things that I noticed talking to some of the old timers, they're real tight-lipped about stuff. And I said, if I'm going to get into this, I'm going to make sure that I share what I know. If I can make somebody prospect better, if I can be the difference of a successful trip or frustration and failure, I want to be that difference. And I was blessed to. I tell people, I was raised poor, but I didn't know it because we always had food on the table. I always had to make my own. I always had to make my own toys, and as an adult, I just never quit doing it. So
yeah. No, I hear you there, and that's the thing, that I've noticed quite a bit with quote unquote now day and age is, for the longest time, the mining community was really hush about a lot of the types of techniques that they used for gold capture rate and just multiple other things. And it's like, the way I look at it and the way James looks at it and everybody that we have supporting, the PB family is the more knowledge we can get out there, the better to allow everybody and anyone that is in the gold prospecting community that's either just starting out or wants to learn more. The more we can get out there, the better I can sleep at night knowing that this person or that person took that technique and went out with their buddy in whatever state it may be or province and went home with color, and they're happy as a kid on Christmas Day. So I wholeheartedly agree with you with what you just said. I mean, to be able to share that knowledge and spread that positivity in our community is just, that's what, I guess that's what helps me get more and more excited about each and every season, is bringing more people on into the community and having them learn about all these new techniques and new technologies and all the phenomenal things that they hadn't known otherwise. And now they know, and they can go out while they're camping with their family, even as like a weekend warrior, and go out there and try that new technique, and bam, it works. And they're like, wow, I cannot believe that actually worked. It's a phenomenal feeling. And, it's something else.
Yeah, when I first got into the mining, I started playing with equipment. I started playing with ideas. I was creating inventions that I thought were unique, but they ended up not being until I come up with a gold cube. But I joined a GPAA club here in Oklahoma. Now in Oklahoma, they say, "Is there gold in Oklahoma?" I said, yeah, there's 7 pieces, and between everybody in the club, we've got 6 of them. We've got 1 more left. But I joined the club, and a year after I joined the club, I actually became the president. So I've been the president ever since. So wow. I share my adventures and my what I've learned and everything with all of our members of our club, and we have people come in from all over the country that are passing by. They'll stop in and say hi to the club and everything. So it's pretty neat. But I enjoy sharing. I enjoy teaching. And I'm not the only one. So anybody out there listening, like Prospector Buddy is exactly what it means. You need help. These are the people that can help you. The best thing you can do when you first start into this industry is join a club, because there's questions you don't even know what they are to ask them, and they're going to be sitting there waiting to spew their knowledge and their answer to you, and then you can fill it in with a question. I guess it's kind of like minor Jeopardy, I guess. I don't know.
Alex, column 2, question 4. No.
Yeah. I'll take show me your nuggets for 200, please.
Oh,
but
that's awesome.
And for double points, show the flower.
Yeah, right. So yeah, so it's a lot of fun. I mean, just becoming part of the mining community, sharing what I know. At all the gold shows, I do a lecture on fine gold recovery. Now, it's not a lecture on gold cube. It's a lecture on fine gold, where to find it, what to look for, what to do when you find it, make the decisions on the way you operate your equipment that you have, or choose equipment if you don't have any, and getting it home, getting it in a snuffer bottle, getting it in a vial where you can actually see it. I go through all the steps. I take everybody in my class on a trip. Let's go get some gold and let's get it in a vial. So that's my hour in the lecture hall at the GPAA show. So come and see me. I'll help you out with there. And then you can follow. The next gold show is in Pomona. Well, actually, the next gold show is in Lodi, California. Okay, on December the 4th and 5th, there's Lodi, California, that great Hall of Fame, whatever, fairgrounds or whatever. And Saturday night they're having the AMRA fundraiser dinner. So you can get tickets, and they've got all kinds of stuff going on there. Support the AMRA cause. They're out there cause we need help. And they're there to fight the fight. Yes, yeah. Indeed. And so I'm going to be there. Also, believe it or not, I'm going to get away from the shows for a second. In Oklahoma itself, there are 4 gold prospecting companies here in Oklahoma, of all places where there's no gold, or 6 of them anyway, 6 out of 7. We've got 4 gold prospecting businesses here. Obviously Gold Cube, and then we've also, the second one was Geo Sluice Mining. He was from the Modesto area, but he moved out here to Oklahoma City. And then my partner Red, who had the Golden Sand, Suck It and Bucket, he sold that to my friend here, Cash Best. So they're being manufactured here in Oklahoma as well. And then there's another commercial company called Gyro Gold, and I'm one of the owners in Gyro Gold, and it's a big commercial centrifugal bowl that will actually run about 50 yards an hour.
Wow!
And
holy moly!
Yeah, it's a big one. It's 7 feet of bowl full of muck just spinning there.
Going to town.
Yeah. In fact, in Montana, when Dave Turin was in Montana, north of Helena, by the Birdseye mine, at the end of his sluice box was a big green bowl at the end of the sluice box.
I remember
that was our bowl. That's that company. In fact, when I was up there, so I'm segueing to a segue to a divert to a
no worries. We're loving it. We're loving it, Mike. Keep it coming, Mike.
I was up in Nome, Alaska with my wife, and I got a call from Dave Turn. He says, Dave says, Casey Morgan said that you've got a machine that'll help us quit losing the gold that we've got in here. And I said, yeah, it's called the Gyro Gold, gyrogold.com if you want to look at it. And I said, he says, can you have it here next week? It's like,
Mike, you better get on some phone calls. Sure. You better get on some phone calls, right? That night.
Yeah, so I called the CEO, told him what we were going to do instead of asking him.
This is what we're doing. Let's go. Come on.
So we had a little Zoom meeting and everything, and they rounded everyone up from Oklahoma, put it on the trailer, and started driving up north to Montana. And I got on an airplane and headed down to Montana. It was funny. I told the stewardess, I said, "Is this a handbasket?" And the stewardess says, "A handbasket?" I said, "Yeah, I'm going to hell in a handbasket."
That's
goes, yeah, I never heard that before.
I have.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So I got down there and I put that bowl in there. So there's seven. That 7-foot bowl is a Gyro Gold's bowl, and we have a 4-foot bowl now. But there's 4 actual gold prospecting companies here in Oklahoma. So 3 of those companies, Geosluice, Gold Cube, and the Golden Sand are all going to be at the Lodi show. See, I brought it right back around, didn't I?
That's awesome. Hey, is Jeff from Geo going to be there?
Yeah, he'll be there. Jeff and Laura are both going to be there, and
Awesome.
yeah, they've got some new products, the high bankers, hand trommels, and motorized trommels for feeding sluice boxes. So he's got some new stuff. So check his booth out, and he's come pretty far in the vacuum molding business. In other words, his business really sucks.
Love you, Jeff.
Yeah, so he's doing. Yeah, he's doing really good, and he'll be there. And we're planning on spending a day or two while we're out there, going out looking for gold. He still has an active claim out there someplace. He's invited me to it, so we'll go out there, see if we can find some gold. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's the first show that I know of, and that's going to be in, like I say, Lodi, California. The next show is in February, and it's going to be in Pomona, California.
Yeah.
And February 5th and 6th. The next one after that is a non-GPAA show. The following weekend is going to be in Quartzsite, Arizona. And it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday show, and that's always a good day. And I always spend a couple extra days for metal detecting out there. So,
you know what, Stephen Bertrand, make sure you get to that Quartzsite, Arizona. That is your home. That I know that's a small drive. You get Elijah White out there. You guys go show some love over there.
There you go.
Anyway.
Oh, speaking of Quartzsite, the gold prospecting shop that's there is owned by Blake and Lisa Harmon. They have decided to go 100% resident of Alaska. So they're selling the Miners Depot shop. So if you've got anybody that wants to go to Quartzsite and take over the shop, it's a ready-made business, ready to step into. So give Blake and Lisa a holler. You can go to the minersdepot.com and get their phone number, or text them or whatever. They're easy to get a hold of. But
awesome.
But it's up for sale, and I don't know if they've sold it yet or not. It's a great location, and somebody in this stage of life would want to do something a little more fun than punching a time clock somewhere else. So just putting the word out there for everybody.
Me.
Me. You can't spend that kind of time in the sun there. It won't happen.
Hey, you know what? I might be Irish, but that don't mean I can't wear a sombrero and whatever else I need to protect myself from the sun.
Even Mexican foods need Irish spices, right?
That's right.
Yeah. All right. So then the next one in the last part of February is going to be in. That's it. Quartzsite and Pomona. Okay, there's going to be another little show in Llano, Texas, but Llano with 2 L's. But that's the 26th and 27th of February, and then in March, Phoenix, Arizona is going to be the 12th and 13th. Puyallup, Washington is going to be 26th and 27th. I'll see Jaron there. Yeah, there. Whoop, whoop.
Yes, you will, brother man. Yes, you will. I'll be there.
All right, and I'll be.
Jaron, I'm driving to Spokane, and I'm hopping in your truck with you.
Yes, you are. We're making it happen.
Yeah, and then after that, that's Portland, Oregon is going to be April 9th and 10th, and then there's a couple weeks off, and then they'll be on the East Coast. They're going to be in Conrad by Charlotte, North Carolina. Nice. And 2 weeks after that, they'll be in Columbus, Ohio. So that's the
MVP can go to that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mr.
Get him out. He's all
Yeah.
banged up. That'll give him something to do.
Mr. Joe Brickner, if you're watching, brother man, get your butt over there.
Yes.
Get your butt
There you
over
go.
there.
Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah. So those are the shows. We've got a metal detecting event happening here in Oklahoma by the I don't remember where it is.
Come on, Mike. What are you doing here?
Yeah. It's a place called it's called Robbers Cave. It's a Robbers Cave State Park. That area. I don't remember the name of the city. I've always referred to it as Robbers Cave, but that's going to be in June. It'll be the 3rd, 4th, and 5th of June here in Oklahoma. So lots of metal detecting. I guess Bo Duke from the Dukes of Hazzard. He's going to be there with all his people.
Wow.
I guess he's going to see how many metal detectors he can jump or something, or
That's awesome.
get halfway across, and they'll stop and say, and they'll take a vacation or take a commercial break.
Speaking of a break.
Yeah.
Oh, that is too funny. So yeah, you know what? Let's go ahead and take a quick break. We have a ton of questions, so I hope you're ready, Mike. We got a ton of them. We got quite a few from a lot of the folks that are watching right now. A lot of really great questions I'm seeing here. So if we want to go ahead and take a quick 5-minute break, go hit the restroom real quick, grab some water, something like that. We'll jump right back into the Q&A if you want, Mike.
Okay, yeah, and I'll scroll back through the chat room there and see if anybody is recognizes who I am and is telling me hi or something like that.
There's quite a few. I mean, John said, tell Mike I said hi. I mean, there is just an absolutely insane amount of phenomenal comments here. So
phenomenal response tonight. It's really nice. Thank you guys. Thanks everybody.
Yeah, most definitely. So yeah, let's go ahead and take a quick 5-minute break and we'll be right back.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
All righty. All right, we are back after our 5-minute break. Hopefully everybody was able to grab something to drink, hit the restroom real quick. I know I went and did that. It was only a matter of time, right? I tell you what.
We're animals. We're just filthy animals.
That's just what it happens to be these days. I tell you what. All right, so this segment of the podcast, let's go over some comments real quick with you, Mike. There's quite a bit to go through, so I'm going to try to filter as many as I can, and then we have a awesome topic to jump on that we were talking about earlier before the podcast that I'd love to mention to the rest of everybody. First and foremost, Mr. Fred Dickinson wanted to say hi. So, Fred.
Hi, Fred.
He wanted to say hi to you, Mike. So, Fred, I hope you're doing well, brother, man. And I'm actually freaking excited that you're on the podcast. Love you, brother.
Yeah. And congratulations on the move. He just moved back to Texas.
Oh, that's right.
Permanent.
That's right. Congrats on the move, brother, man. Hey, the nice thing about that is you don't have to deal with the weather that we're dealing with. That's for dang sure.
We can go visit his claims while he's hanging out in Texas.
There you
Just
go.
playing with you, Fred. Come on.
Let's see. So our first comment is from Mr. John Davis. What's up, brother, man? He said, I wanted to know about starting and stopping. So, Mike, I appreciate you covering that topic with the gold cube. Let's see. Paul says, ask Mike how he did gold-wise at Cape Disappointment, the last group gathering. So how'd you do, Mike?
I got it all weighed out, and I actually pulled 3 grams off of Cape D.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was running the dirt, and Cash Best was there with me, and he was going around panning and testing and finding the best stuff he could find, and that's really the secret to success is prospecting. You have to look for the gold before you just start throwing dirt, because there's no machine out there that's magically going to make the gold. It's got to be in it to begin with. So we did so well because of prospecting.
And the funny thing, to touch on that subject real quick, is we just had an interview with a phenomenal guy over in Canada, Paul Jarvis, and that's one of the things he said. He's are you out going to get gold, or are you washing rocks? He says everybody can wash rocks, but not everybody can run gold through the box. So
sometimes it's just a matter of shifting 1 foot left or right. You could be so digging right next to the best placer stash you've ever seen in your life, right? You just missed it because you were so trained in going that direction. You didn't think to shift, do a test pan. Are we still on the gold? That's the one I think about with dredging. We need to test this because, we're in the bottom of the dang creek. We can't get locked in on something and figure out 20 yards later that there was a gram there. Right.
Because and you have to do. Got to have a little better or bigger samples. I mean, you could have a real bad pan in a real good area, and you can have a real good pan in a real bad area. You've got to prospecting is not just a pan and you start running 100,000 yards. So what I like to do is, and I teach this in my class, I tell everybody take 10% of your time looking for gold. And I've gone from 4 specks in a pan all the way up to 200 specks after 45 minutes of looking, and I finally found a place that had much better gold. If I'd have started working right where I found the 4 specks, I'd have had gold for the day. But as it was, I ended up with about 3/4 of an ounce that day. So it's you have to look for the gold. You have to make sense of it, and I teach all that stuff in my class.
No, that's absolutely phenomenal. Let's see here. We got, they're flooding in here. Give me a sec. Tina Williams says, I have never seen so much flower gold The gold cube is amazing. That is awesome. That is absolutely
Okay, she's my new best friend.
oh, I love it. Absolutely love it. Let's see here. I think we touched on that subject, Tina. She also says, what do you call the mat that you use in the gold cube?
Right, it's rough top incline conveyor belt is the real name for it, and we just recognize that it makes little vortex pockets when it's run at over 12 degrees and not to exceed 18 degrees. So we nicknamed it Vortex Mat. So you'll see just a bunch of little pockets in a rubber mat, and that's it. Some people say that they have trouble getting the gold out of the mat. I got actually three comments for them. It's like, you say it's catching gold and you can't get it out. I think that's what we're here for, to catch gold. the second comment is, if you can't get all the gold out, don't worry about it. It's going to be there in your next cleanup. So don't fret about it. And for the people who are having a hard time trying to get the mats cleaned out, they say, "Oh, I've got to take this like power washer or yada yada." Just don't do all that. I just take the water pump that comes with the cube. I hold the mat on an angle, and then I spray directly into it. Let the water ricochet down into a pan. So I set it in a pan. So, oh man, I just about took myself out. So just take and put your thumb over the end of the hose, and once you got your thumb over the end of the hose, you spray the top half as far as you can get, and just spray it all the way down into, holding it sideways, so you're not going the same direction as you're using it. So going side to side. So and then you take and you just flip the whole thing over to the other side, and then spray it again. So that way you're hitting it from both directions. And if there's a big piece in there, we'll just pick at it with your fingers and giggle a little bit and put it in your whoopee bottle.
Get the damn thing out.
So anyway, so that's Vortex Mat.
That's awesome. All right. So Tina, I hope that he answered that question for you. Let's see here. Wowzers, there's just a ton of them here. Hold on, give me 2 seconds here. He says, even better. So this was in the beginning of the conversation with the invention of the gold cube. He says, even better, the gold cube prototype was also made from wood.
Awesome.
Yes,
so much of my stuff from wood first.
Yeah.
Mike says yes, and
okay, this is my favorite answer. Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Okay, we made a framework of you see some angle iron with holes like every inch or something like that. And then when Red's girlfriend was out of the kitchen, we used the oven as a vacuum mold machine. And we made a bunch of trays like that to where we can adjust the angles up and down, etc. Okay, now the very first gold cube tray as they are today, I made a prototype to take to the injection mold company to make the mold off of. So yes, the very first actual tray was made out of wood, but there was never any water that ran across that wood.
That's absolutely phenomenal. And it's awesome to see comments like that, because as yourself, Mike, you see all of these folks follow you from the very beginning of the gold cube as it was invented. And it's almost weird because it's like so many folks know, from the beginning all the way to now with the gold cube itself and where it's came and all that good stuff. So, I mean, it's extremely awesome in one way and it's a little weird in the other way because, it's like you get best of both worlds,
Yeah, it's creepily wonderful.
There you go.
That's one way of putting it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's see.
Yeah.
We got GS Prospecting. Hey, what's going on, brother man? He said, hey, Mike. Hey, James. Let's see. Let's see here. So we got another comment that says most all of my gold is sub 50 mesh. I truly believe my gold cube catches it all. That is awesome. That is absolutely awesome.
I agree with the gold cube catches almost all of it. There's nothing that's perfect. I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't care what you do. If you want something to capture absolutely every bit of it, I've got this thing called a 5-gallon bucket. Fill it up and don't move it, and it caught it all.
Don't do anything else with it.
I
question here.
freaking love that.
What kind of metal detector does Mike use?
My favorite is Mine Lab.
Mine Lab.
If people see me out metal detecting, they're going to see me with 2 metal detectors at once. Okay, I've got the monster up on my shoulder. That's my massive pinpointer, and I'm swinging a 7,000 without a whoopee stick on it. I just strong arm that thing, and that way I've got a better feel of it. And so when I acquire a target with a 7,000, I just pull it aside, and then I bring the 1,000 down, and I see if it's ferrous or non-ferrous, and also if I can actually reach the target or not. So that'll give me an idea of how deep it is. If I come down and I can't reach it with the 1,000, then immediately I pull 10 inches of soil off of that thing, and then I recheck the target, recheck the hole. With that 7,000, my deepest target so far to date has been 55 inches, and I bring a tape measure with me.
So he knows exactly how deep it is.
so it's if you got a big machine, you're going to have to be prepared to dig big deep holes. Now I developed a pick. It's my favorite pick, obviously. I mean, I made it the way I wanted it. I made the gold cube the way I wanted it. I mean, it's I made it to work for me, and that's why it works for other miners. Is because it was made for a miner in mind. But it's a 36-inch handle pick. It's got the 12-pound sledgehammer handle on it of hickory. It's got a real wide blade. It's made out of a disc furrow. It's got a A52 magnet on it. I mean, it's everything I wanted in a pick. It's there. It's not cheap. It's $120, but I don't even have it on the website yet. But
I was just gonna ask that. I was gonna ask, do you have it on the website? Yeah, I was gonna say. Come on now.
I've also got a little crevicing pick as well. It's got a spoon on one end and a pick on the other, but that's all made out of solid steel, the whole thing. And I got to get them on the website. What's that?
I was gonna say. Go for it, James.
Oh, I was just asking Jeremy what his crevicing tool is made out of.
The exact same. I was gifted. Yeah. Yep, it works really well. You just got to shave it down every single time you go out and
form it to the crack.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, let's see.
So the answer is the 7,000 and the 1,000 are the two that I use, and then I use the 35 pinpointer if I got to reach farther than my pick wheel into the hole to see if I'm anywhere close to the target or not.
That's awesome. Absolutely. So going on to more comments here, we actually got a couple of freaking hilarious ones. So we got a comment that says maybe Mike Pung is interested in adopting me.
I doubt it.
Hey, I can always use somebody to carry my equipment.
Oh, absolutely love it. Oh man, let's see.
I see a couple of comments in there about the banjo pan. Let me talk a little bit about the banjo pan, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go for it, Mike.
Let me see. I've got a vial here that I was in North Carolina last week. Let me see if I can get this to show up. Okay, you see that gold in there? See how small it is?
Yep. Yes,
Okay.
Very, 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 very small flower.
Yeah, yeah. The biggest piece is a 100 mesh. I got all those with a banjo pan, and that's 5 minutes of work with a banjo pan. And
Wow.
there's two types of ways you can use the banjo pan. There's just prospecting, looking for gold and see if you got any. Poking at it, ooh, ah, look, there's gold there, and trying to snuffer it out with a snuffer bottle and burning daylight. Okay, once I find out that I've got gold in an area, especially like the flavor on the West Coast now is no power pumps and a bunch of crap like that. I can go through with a banjo pan in production mode. It's getting it down to concentrates and then just tipping it into a bucket, sloshing it out, and then getting another scoop of dirt. If you go on goldcube.net, in our video section, you're going to see some banjo pan videos in there. So I've got a production mode pan in there. Red is shoveling into my pan, and I'm bringing it down to concentrates and sloshing it in a bucket. About every 8 pans, it's about a 5-gallon bucket. Okay, I can go through 8 pans in a minute.
Wow, that is insane.
Now, if you look at that's kicking butt.
Yeah, that's insane.
I mean, you could take 5 if you want to. That's fine. But if you look at the video, we're making a video. We're talking. We're joking around. We're just showing it happening, you know. And if you do a time and see my my complete cycle from shovel load to shovel load to shovel load, it's every 10 seconds, just screwing around.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what the banjo pan can do. I can just about outrun the gold cube with the banjo pan. Now the advantage to that is I just had it in my backpack and I'm carrying it along, or had it dangling on my side with a carabiner or whatever, and I didn't have a whole lot of stuff going into an area. Or the other advantage is the eco-Nazis and the politic crap that gets thrown around has kicked us out of the river with power equipment, and you've got a spot that is absolutely amazing. And the more material that you can turn and create concentrates and take it home, the more gold you're going to end up with on that day. So the fact that you can't get into some of these areas with a pump or a dredge or something like that, if you use a device like a banjo pan, not to look at your gold, not to pick at it, not to put it in a snuffer bottle, but to make concentrates. About every 5 minutes, I can put about a ½ inch in a bucket. So every 5 minutes is a ½ inch of concentrates. So it's going to take me all day to fill up a bucket, and I'm too old to last the whole day.
but you'll be bringing quite a bit of concentrates home, and in other words, with other equipment, you wouldn't have near as much for the time spent.
Not as much gold. You're going to have quite a few concentrates, but when you take those concentrates home, you're going to be closer to the refrigerator and the toilet.
Yeah.
That's a lot more fun. So the banjo pan in production mode is going to get you a lot of concentrates in areas that you're not allowed to use other equipment. If you are allowed to use other equipment, like, holy crap, a dredge. If you could use a dredge, I mean, a dredge is like the bulldozer of the ocean. I mean, it's or the river. I mean, it is designed especially to move material and then get down to your pay area. But it's made to get rid of stuff. So you're not going to do that too easily with just a shovel or whatever. But if you're not allowed to use that, if you're not allowed to use those kinds of equipment, then you got to do the best you can. And so far, of all the pans that I've used the claw and flow pans and Spike's ram pan, and I've used pans from all over the place, and nothing outruns the Gold Cube's banjo pan. I'm not just saying that because I invented it.
I have one in the cart right now. It's about to be purchased.
Nice.
And I was gonna say, Mike. So, with the banjo pan, do you have instructional videos on the website down below there, goldcube.net, for anybody that's watching that actually hasn't used one? Do you have any?
Yeah. There's 3 ways you can use a banjo pan. You can use actually 4 ways. You can use the banjo pan as a production, like we just talked about. You can use it to prospect and get right down to the gold and tap up a line like you're using a pan. It's got a drop bottom pan at the head of it, and then it's got a neck with a vortex mat in it. And it also, you can use it dry panning. You can actually go out in the desert without water and see if there's gold there. And when we're prospecting, whether it's dry or wet, we're only trying to answer 2 questions. I like answering 2 questions. I can keep up with that.
2 and only 2.
Yeah. The first question is there gold here? And the second question is it any better than the last place I checked? Because that's all you're trying to do. If someone says, I suck at panning, I lose half my gold. So, well, you got 8 pieces left here and you got 20 pieces left here. Where are you going to go?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. So you don't have to be good. We're just trying to figure out where we're going to run our equipment. And then there's another way that the banjo pan that can be used, completely, totally submerged, like a dredger, like James. You can actually use that underneath the water. And it's the same motion, only instead of pouring it out, you're going to be picking the pan up through the water. And the main pan is actually going to collect water, and the path of least resistance is down the neck.
Right.
Okay. So if you just like pick it up, and you might have to tip it a little bit to get things to move, and then you hold it on the very top edge and you tap the pan, and that actually makes the whole pan torque, and the gold will crawl right out of there, and you'll have an indication whether or not there's gold there or not. So it can be, if you're submerged underwater, you don't have to get out and take your mask off and test something or whatever. You can just leave the hose behind, do a little bit of searching on your own. Make sure the hookah can still reach you.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, we call it puff cheek mining, and you don't have any air. Yeah.
Puff cheek. You get about 2, and then you're done. You get about 2 or 3 if you're lucky.
Pan faster.
Yep. All right.
But so that's the banjo pan. You just need to check it out. Videos on goldcube.net.
Yeah, most definitely. All right, let's see here. Let's scroll through some of these, and then we're going to get to that topic we were talking about earlier. Let's see. That was that comment. Let's see. We got another one here. Yes, Mike is a great teacher. Next comment we got. Thanks, Mike. You cut my cleanup time way down on my commercial mine. The gold cube works great. Awesome. Absolutely awesome.
Yeah, that's one of the things that that I've noticed a lot. The gold cube can actually fit in quite a few areas. Some people use it just to take care of their concentrates. Some people use it as their primary piece of equipment. I mean, that's what they got. And if all you got is superfine gold, then you don't want to run it through a big machine and do a little catch and release. We want to take all that gold home. We don't like catch and release. And then also, there's other miners, some big miners out there that once they get down to the bottom of the cut, they'll do a 5-gallon bucket test, and they'll just take the cube and the gold banker out there, and they'll test to see if they need to take another 2 feet if they've already hit bedrock, and to see if there's stuff that they need to keep going after. I mean, they can assess a cut, assess the cut before they start, or assess a cut to see if they're going to if they're done already, and get to move on.
Keep using it or not.
Right. So there's a lot of places it can fit in, and I had a guy complain one time that he got a particular amount of gold out of the gold cubes, 1 bucket, and he uses 40 buckets per cubic yard, as his measurement. I think it's 41.3 or something like that, but he goes 40. So he does his math, and he said that when he finished running it through his sluice box, that he was only getting 75% of the gold. And I said,
wow.
So did I give you high hopes? I'm sorry. So they just need to readjust their box. They probably need one more section that spreads it out and slows the water down, and they'll mitigate some of those losses. But it gave him an idea of what was going on, so he could react to it. So that was a good thing.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, it all depends on how you're running your equipment. That's the major factor in the whole situation at hand is how you're running your equipment. If you're not running your equipment to its max efficiency, then you're going to see gold loss. And if you've been around the block, quote unquote, long enough, you'll know that you're running your equipment improperly, or there's something that you need to adjust in order for you to have your equipment running properly to get your max efficiency.
Well, that little notebook you always see me writing in, that's what I'm doing is I'm writing down angles, what we're doing that day. So, and then what we see when we get done, and maybe I'm going to make an adjustment. What was I doing last time? Should I do that? Maybe we'll do a little better this time. I'm not going to plug anybody's stuff right now, but just because I don't trust my memory from time to time going out. Was I at this angle? Was I at that angle? And it gives me a reference point. And then what kind of material were we running? Was it really dense clay, sticky stuff? Or was it, what was it?
Even round or flat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. We got some more comments here. I totally forgot that I can pop up on the screen here. So thank you, James. I totally spaced it for whatever reason. But there you go. Hey, Mike, thank you for making the gold cube. We got another awesome one here.
Tina, I made just for you.
Just for you, Tina Williams. We got another question here. How many trays should you use I run 4?
Okay, the rule of thumb for how many trays you should use is just keep an eye on your last tray. If your last tray has up to 10% of your gold in it, so when you do a cleanup, it's until you get to know the dirt and know where you're running. So in a new area, you clean your first tray and clean your last tray. And if your last tray has more than 10% of your gold, you got 2 choices: add another tray or do more often cleanups.
So I hope. Oh, go for it, Mike.
When Parker Schnabel bought his first gold cube, he actually bought 10 trays.
Oh, wow.
then he realized he didn't need all that.
That's awesome. We got another comment here by Mr. John. He says, how do you feel about using other mats in the cube? Damn autocorrect. I know. Autocorrect is a pain in the ass. That's
I heard question, right?
Absolutely. So I'm gonna turn it into a joke. There's a priest, a minister, and a rabbit that walked into a bar, and the bartender says to the rabbit, "What are you doing here?" And he goes, "I don't know, autocorrect." Supposed to be a rabbi for people that didn't get it.
I was gonna say I heard the original one, and I know that the original one is pretty raunchy.
A rabbi,
but, yeah.
So anyway, so the different mats that are out there are mats that do amazing. All right, there's we already mentioned the mat that was in the Washington Beach Miner, that sawtooth mat.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you put that mat on the last part of your system, the water's going to be more consistent, and you'll have less problem. Also, one of the problems with Vortex mat is if you get into a real rooty area, I mean lots of roots or moss, the mat can clog up a little bit. So If you if you follow it up with a sawtooth mat in those kind of conditions, anything that might get away has a different chance to be captured in that type of a zone. Okay, bigger gold. The gold cube is designed for actually 6 mesh. In the instruction manual, it says 8 mesh because I can't find a 6 mesh classifier. Okay, but the holes in the gold cube are actually 6 mesh, or 3/16 of an inch. And so our G-force, not G-force, our gold banker. Our gold banker has 3/16 holes. Our trommel has 3/16 holes. That's the maximum you put in there. But there's a lot of people out there that are trying to get 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch pushed through the gold cube. And they're having success. They can get most of it through there, and they're actually picking up gold. But if they've got bigger gold and they try to run it across my mat, a 1/4 inch piece is going to slide across the top. Yep. If it makes it out of the G-force separator, you're probably going to lose it. Most of the time, they'll just stay right there in the G-force separator. So if you're not following instructions and you're using the gold cube for what it's not designed to do, another mat can give you some better success. So something with bigger pockets. Okay, so the other thing is there's some mats out there that are not designed for that steep of an angle, 15 degrees. Follow your manufacturer's suggested angle for your optimum success. They've done a lot of testing, and they know what is going to work the best. There are some manufacturers out there trying to get, I was just about ready to say something raunchy. In my box.
Go for it. That's what the podcast's for. Yeah. No filters.
No filters.
So and that's it's a compliment. It's a compliment that people want to use the gold cube as a platform for their systems that they have. And in most cases it'll work, but in a lot of the cases, because it's such a steep angle, if you stop feeding it, you need to shut it off or else it'll scrub out. So if you're using other than what's designed in there, and if you're feeding material that's too big for what the gold cube is designed for, just remember when you're done feeding it, shut it off, and that way you won't have any of that stuff sliding out. So there's your answer.
Perfect. We have another comment here. Mike, do you have a YouTube channel? And I will go ahead and fix that real quick. It'll be right at the bottom there. If you guys want to go over there and subscribe to him, check out his videos. Extremely informational.
I've got another YouTube channel too. I got in a past life, I had a 30-year-old woodworking business. It's still going. I passed it on. I'm training another guy in it. It's users / instead of Mr. Gold Cube, it's OK, the number 2 CO, like Oklahoma 2 Colorado. So OK2CO, and there's some woodworking videos in there as well as some gold prospecting videos in there.
Here, I'm going to go ahead and pull that up for the folks that are watching. That way they can jump on over there. Here we go. Let me go ahead and grab that real quick and go ahead and put it in here, and we'll get that going just as well.
So you can see some of my woodworking tutorials that I made in there. I don't have a lot of my I don't have a lot of my products and stuff in there, but I did I've got stuff in the Grand Ole Opry. I've got stuff in Toby Keith's house, Reba McEntire, Garth Brooks, the Kate Hudson. I've got stuff everywhere. I did stuff for the memorial for the Murr building bombing. I got stuff everywhere. I mean, 30 years, someone's going to find you. So. And
Mike, this is why I was nervous to do the podcast. Out of all the podcasts I've ever done, I said, shit, yeah. James, we got Mike on the podcast. What the hell am I going to do to keep myself composed? So
I said, hey, man, just roll with it. Mike's
just roll with
it. He's just like
That's
everybody
right.
else.
That's
You
right.
just came up with a
You-
wonderful product. That's all.
Oh, you guys are doing great. You look pretty relaxed.
Oh.
If you're nervous, it's not showing.
Well,
thank
that's
you, Mike. Thank
good.
you very much.
That's good. All right, let's see
Yeah.
here. So we got another. We got a couple more questions. We're going to do 2 more questions, then we're going to jump onto that topic real quick.
Okay.
Let's see here. I just saw it. Oh, Tony Welch says something nasty in your box. Remember, Mike, if it smells like tuna, run like a puma.
Now we're in trouble.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I've crossed rivers in Alaska with a 4-wheeler after they die and stuff coming down. There's some pretty nasty stuff coming down them rivers. But it's bears I'm running from.
Oh geez, that is hilarious.
One more question.
Oh geez. Let's see. We got John says, can you modify the cube to run larger material?
No.
Or better yet, in your opinion, is that feasible?
Okay, here's my opinion. No. Okay, like when I'm teaching fine gold recovery, I consider 20 mesh gold is where fine gold starts.
Okay.
The gold cube is designed to be exceptional with extremely small gold. Almost every other piece of equipment out there can handle 20 mesh and bigger. So if you've got a lot of material that's much bigger and you have fine gold, you may want to run everything through the big stuff first, collect the fines after it's all been broke up and everything's been busted loose from itself, and then run those through the gold cube. So you have to analyze your gold and find out when it's worth it or not. If you've got a bunch of big stuff and you're trying to classify everything down and put it in the gold cube, you're not going to get the volume that you need. You got to use the right piece of equipment for the job. So I've got some mines down in Peru, not mine, but customers that actually have, they're running some old tailings. They've already been gone through, and they're getting almost a ½ ounce per yard out of the tailings. And all of those are just like 100 mesh, 200 mesh, and smaller. So it's nothing that they're going to be able to capture in a regular conventional sluice box.
Right.
So what they did is they ran it all, they get it all loosened back up with a trommel, with a 1/16 inch screen on the trommel, and they run it down, they run the slurry into a diverter, and it sends it off into like 20 different gold cubes at once.
That's awesome.
Okay?
Holy.
That is so awesome.
Yeah, so then every hour, they start at the left, they take the top tray, move it on the empty one, and keep rolling, and then they clean out that one. Then they move the next top tray over because they're all on feeder hoses,
Gotcha.
and they just keep doing that. So they can go through. Oh, I just
He
kicked
did it again.
Oh God! So that way they can run higher volumes using the gold cube technology without having to make a tray so big they got to pick it up with an excavator.
Right.
So one of the things we found with the mat, there's a point of diminishing returns with this mat. Once you get past 18 inches, it starts creating dead spots. It's just like the way a river moves. It'll start catching, and it'll go over, and then in time it'll just start coming back again. Okay, and that's what it does on the vortex mat if you get it too wide. So 18 inches was a point of diminishing returns. So we made sure we stayed at 12, so we never get into that situation. So it always stays effective.
Wow.
Yep. So running bigger material or a bigger gold cube, it's not feasible. If you've got bigger gold and bigger material, get a bigger machine.
Bigger machine. That's right.
That I think that whole Peru thing that really ties in well with kind of our next question, our next topic, I guess we could call it. I mean, if they're getting that kind of return using the cube, then that means they don't have to go to a chemical process.
Correct, like mercury, right?
Exactly. And Jared knows mercury is a big thing. It's personal to me and my family. But could you share with us what the global mercury challenge or what was that called? You were saying
there's John of the golden goose the gold drop recovery device.
Gotcha.
Yes. He was in the mercury, the artisanal mining grand challenge. It's trying to save the Amazon. And last year he got in on the challenge and he did pretty good. But he said, Mike, you should jump in there and take a look at it. So I did, and I just threw my hat in the ring. And basically, what the artisanal mining grand challenge is designed to do is keep all the people in third world countries or second world countries that have no choice but to use mercury to get fine gold out of the dirt to be able to make a living, feed their family. Yep. If they don't have that, if they don't have an option, then they're going to keep doing it, and they're risking the health of the family that they're trying to feed, and it's just madness. So I joined the challenge, and we'll see how it all works out. But mercury is a neurotoxin, and mercury in its liquid state is actually not dangerous. It is not dangerous. If it gets into your system can create a methylation, and the methylation is the crazy. That's where the crazy stuff comes from. Yeah. If you find mercury, like when you're out there mining, I know James has said that he's found a bunch of mercury from many different things. There's a lot of different sources. One of them is natural. Okay, that's called cinnabar, and when it sits in the sun too long, it'll start leaking or leaching mercury, and that drops into the environment, and there it is. The second thing that can happen is industrial waste, and what will happen is the bottom feeders out in where the industrial waste is coming into the reservoirs or bays and stuff like that. The bottom feeders will ingest it. A bigger fish will ingest the bottom feeder, and then it's the call of the wild comes, and they got to go up the river to go lay eggs. So they go up there, they die, they rot. The mercury leaches out, and that's in there. And then there's also the mining from the past before they realized that the mercury was bad. They were using it because it was an effective way to capture the finer gold. Yeah. So they called it quicksilver, and because that's the way it looked. But you'll also hear the stories about the term "mad as a hatter." They used the Mad Hatter, yeah, they used to use mercury to help tan beaver, and when they made the hats, the hatter would actually fit the hat on his head, and then that mercury would just leach into his skull, and pretty soon it'd drive him nuts. Okay, so let's talk about our miners here first, and then we'll go back to the third world country. If you're in an area that you actually find mercury, don't freak out. If you know you're going to find it, have an extra snuffer bottle to suck it up. Mercury stored underwater is 100% safe. You're not going to hurt anything. You're not going to hurt the environment anymore. You did the environment a favor by picking it up and getting it out of there. Okay, so just leave it in water. And some of the cities around the area have collection points for toxic waste and paints and stuff like that. Yep. And you can turn it in there. Or mercury is a tool, and if you use it properly, it's safe. The problem is a lack of education almost forces people to do it improperly, and it becomes dangerous. Yeah. Okay, so there are some people out there that actually use it in a safe, approved method that they can use that tool. It's like toilet. How many kids drowned? They drowned in a toilet. If you don't use it right, there's going to be problems.
Right.
All right. So it's understanding the entire process before you get started. Don't. If someone says, "Well, I'm going to teach you how to use mercury in a potato," slap them in the forehead with a shovel and run. that's not the way to do
the
it.
best method. Do not do that. Do not do that.
So there's the right way to use it and the wrong way to use it. And the truth is there's no need to use it with the types of equipment that we have these days. So if you find mercury, get it in a snuffer bottle marked mercury, or if you're artistic, you can do a skull and crossbones or whatever. But just keep it in there. And if there's gold in it, I'm sure there's probably somebody in an area club or something like that. Like I'm the president of the GPA club here in Oklahoma, and we've got guys in the club that actually have a retort, which is the right way to get gold and mercury separated.
Yeah.
Just save it until you can find one of those guys. And if it's not very much gold anyway, then just turn it in and get rid of the hassle of it. It'll be worth that to your health to not have it laying around. So don't freak out. Keep it underwater. And make sure you get it to someone who is trained on how to take care of it. Okay. Now the third world nations, the only thing they know is what they've been taught, generation after generation. You'll see them playing with it in their hands, and they'll see them put it in a chamois and twist it with their hands to press the amalgam out. A lot of dangerous stuff. If their hands are raw or they got a crack in there, then it's going to go right into their system. So it's a shame. It's terrible. The other thing that they'll do is they'll walk all over it with their feet if they've got the big araster. Now, araster is a big grinding stone.
Yeah.
And then they'll get the mercury in there, and they'll get it to press around the gold after it's been ground up and everything. But it's just dangerous. And then they'll burn it off with a torch. And all those fumes go off into the air. That's called methylation. Once it's in a vapor form, it's methylated mercury, so it can actually get it into the air, and then it's either ingested or comes to rest on something. When it comes to rest on something and they ingest it, then that mercury is going inside them, and it's a neurotoxin. It affects all kinds of stuff. So it's best to get it out of the environment. So I threw my hat into the Artisanal Mining Gold Grand Challenge to come up with a method that is affordable by these people, even if it's government subsidized, to be able to use something besides mercury in order to get gold to help their family. So this will allow them to process more material, get more gold, and be a lot safer with feeding and taking care of their family. And it also removes mercury from the environment if they happen to come across it. And part of my application was creating a government entity that would actually purchase mercury back from them. Either purchase the mercury or get their gold. If there's gold in it, they would actually pull the gold out of it for them at a split. And right. There's, instead of like, well, I don't have a choice, I don't know how to get this off my gold. Well, they need a place to take it, so they need either a refiner that's subsidized by the government or something like that. But anyway, those are all the things we're trying to do to save the planet. That's the only one we got.
No, that's for damn sure.
I mean, certain planet we have, we got to use it responsibly, or we won't be able to get to do what we want to do. What we love to do. Appreciate
what we do. Exactly. I have a link here that I believe it's John Richmond, if I'm not mistaken, that does the sluice goose. Yeah. And so for anybody that wants to see how the sluice goose works and a little bit more knowledge on the sluice goose itself, he has a lot of videos on there where he is extracting mercury and many other different types of metals and whatnot. So, if you do have time, please go over to that website as well and check out, the Sluice Goose and what he's all about, and what he has going on. He's part of the PB family. He posts every once in a while, phenomenal videos, really good education on all those different types of metals. So make sure you jump over there, check that out, educate yourself. I mean, at the end of the day, the best thing you can do is educate yourself with anything that you run into, regardless of what state you're in, so.
Yeah, for sure.
When John got started, he was more of an engineer, machinist, scientist type. He wasn't a gold prospector. He just figured there was a better way. And
wow, I didn't know that. So, I did not know that.
So John and I hung out a lot at the gold prospecting shows. 2 years ago he started doing maybe it was 3 years ago he started doing the gold circuit. And then Dave Verbaioff at Gold Bay started carrying his product. So I seen he was one of your guests earlier. Yep. We're a small family. Everybody knows everybody.
It's smaller than that 7 degrees of separation in the gold community. It's like 3. It's super tight, and that's a good thing.
And one nice thing about gold is that at 7 degrees or 6 degrees of separation or whatever, we don't change our gold until about 2,000 degrees.
Yeah, I got a good representation of that. My first and probably last one I'll ever make with my own gold. First and last.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the show, Mike. We definitely got to get you on the show again when you have availability. Everybody absolutely loved having you on the show. That's right. Hold on one second. We had Ronnie James. Ronnie James said, wanted to know if Mike was still planning on coming to Dredge for a day or two next summer. I forgot. I had to ask that last question.
Yeah, Ronnie James and I have history. We shared chicken in a motel.
Wow. Talk about 3%, huh, James? Holy shit.
Hey, and his wife and his dog watched.
I love it. Oh, I love it. Absolutely. Oh, that is freaking hilarious. Well, everybody that's watching, I appreciate you guys jumping on, coming and spending your time with us this evening. It's been an absolutely phenomenal podcast. None other than the great Mike Pung himself. Mike, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. He's like, wait, who? Huh?
Did he show up?
Yeah. Oh man. Well, I hope everybody here has a good evening. Mike, thank you again. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast, and we'll get you on here again. We'll definitely get you on here again. And then also look forward to seeing my ugly mug and James's ugly mug this spring. We'll be making our way down to Puyallup. That way we can come see you at the show and hopefully shoot the shit. Hopefully shoot the shit.
Shoot the shit, throw some dirt.
That's right. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm going to take the fine gold recovery class if it's going on. I mean, I always want to learn, and
knowledge is free. Knowledge is free.
I got free knowledge. Gotta hit it.
Yeah, bring it.
That's right.
The only thing you got to pay for knowledge is attention.
There you go.
Yeah. Pay attention for free knowledge.
Right. Well, everybody out there in Goldland and beyond, it's been a great show. Hey, come back, Jaron, on this Saturday. You got Yukon Alley, right?
That's right. Yukon Alley this Saturday.
I won't be here. I have previous plans. Back this guy. Watch the show. He's got a great guest coming this weekend.
Yeah, so, Yukon Alley, 5 p.m. Yeah, Yukon Alley, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We also have the Swagger Saturday pay dirt bag giveaway to do. We got to pick a person for that. Should be fun. Should be awesome. Awesome indeed. So
Thank
with
you,
that
Mike.
with that being said, Mike, thank you again. I really appreciate you on the podcast, and you guys have a good evening. Time to sign out and go eat some pot roast.
See you later, guys.
Woo-hoo! Yeah. Thanks for having me, guys.
Have a great
All right,
night.
See you down at the creek.
Sounds good. See you later, guys.